I've been playing around with an idea of trying a different soil type for growing some stones in other mesems and for Haworthias. So I've been playing around with the Haworthias, and I picked up a moisture meter, and what I found, which I was surprised, the new setup without having lights on underneath, at least underneath the Haworthias right now, that they're not drying out as quick as what they used to in the original setup I had, which I don't like with them. They're in the same soil mix as what I grow my stones in, and if they're not drying out too quick, like I've tested it over a 2-week span and it still had some moisture in there, and they're gonna rot and die. So what I'm playing around with the idea is to make up a mix that pretty much anybody can actually have the stuff available to make the mix. Like here in Canada, I can't find pumice, and I know in other countries they're having a hard time finding it too. It's just not available. Where I believe in the States or wherever it's common. If I go to a local greenhouse or garden place around here, everything's pretty much imported for the most part for succulents, cacti, even the few places that do get stones in, and even the soil mix there, like some of the stuff is just grown in peat. So what I'm thinking is actually trying a perlite mix. Now perlite does hold moisture, but it's going to be super well draining. Anybody can pretty much get perlite, and I want to try to stick to the stuff that is available to everybody, because even using the mix I'm using for my stuff right now, not everybody's going to be able to get it. So what I'm thinking is 2 parts perlite, 1 part the agricultural sand, the larger sharp mix, and 1 part potting soil. So it should be stuff that anybody can get, and if you can't get the agricultural sand, you probably could use play sand, which is available to anybody. I would just wash it first to get rid of any salts that are in it. So I'm going to go through, pick out some plants here, and we'll see. I'm thinking the top red, the Lateritia, we'll try both of those. Make some good use out of getting ripped off on eBay. I'm thinking some Titanopsis, Nellii, and that should be it. I think a couple Haworthias. I took some pups off one of my adult plants and see how that goes. Alright, this is what I got. I made up a batch of the soil. I have a feeling this is actually going to work out pretty good. We'll see what happens. But I'll go through and I'll pick out the plants now. And I think I'm going to put a top dressing of some stone on the top too, because perlite will actually work its way to the top. So I'm hoping if I have some stone on the top, it should help prevent the separation of the soil. At least hopefully that'll work. If I don't put a top dressing on too, this stuff's gonna probably blow around and get everywhere inside everything, and I really don't want that. So I'll go through, I'm gonna pick out some plants now, and I'll get them all potted up, and I'll show you when I'm done. Well, I'm right in the middle of repotting everything, and I'm doing an albinica, one of the Leslieii, That's one of the ones I recommend for everybody to try out for either their first time or if they've had trouble in the past. To give you an idea, I've got just the roots down underneath. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to put a top dressing of fine stone. And if you have a hard time finding fine stone, then just go to your local pet shop, pick up some aquarium gravel and just use that. If you want to, you can rinse it ahead of time. But fish are a lot more sensitive than the stones are going to be. And if it doesn't kill the fish, even if it's painted, it's not going to kill your stones. But you might want to just rinse it. Even for fish, it's recommended to rinse it ahead of time. But I have a feeling this is going to work. And what I found when I was doing my mix, that first time I measured everything out, put it in one shot. Second time I just did the sand and I did the soil mix first, then I mixed it up really good because both my sand and my soil is still damp right from the bag. It mixed up a lot easier, and then I put the perlite in and mixed it up. If you want to, you can run it through a sieve and screen it, and that way it's a lot finer and it'll mix up better. But I'm not even going to bother. The Haworthias, I know I did that for some of the Haworthia seeds I just planted, and I was trying to do it the proper way for the first time trying them out. But I decided to show you what exactly I'm doing as I do it. Alright, so here's what I did. I planted the Lateritia, which they're elongated, same as the red top, and I had to replant them anyways. They were too shallow. Two of the Nelii, which I didn't take two of the better plants, just in case this doesn't work out too good, but I have a feeling it will work good. Two different Leslieii, looks like Albany Gold and some other form, and there's about 25 Titanopsis in here too. They're all in the perlite mix that I described earlier. Then I also took a couple random ones and put 100% perlite. There's no soil in here whatsoever. And what I'm going to do, I made up a separate bottle. It's got 1 drop of that fertilizer I showed you in a previous video, and that's what I'm going to water that with. It was actually a little tricky to plant these guys in the perlite. It's like trying to plant in little styrofoam balls that kept moving around, but I managed to get it done. It took a couple hours to get this done. But I've taken pictures of everything. I'm going to compare them later on, and we can compare the pictures, see if there's a difference. If there's a problem with them, I can repot them again in my normal soil mix. But I did water everything except for this Nelii here. I did water the other one. That one's in the middle of changing, so I didn't bother watering it. And I haven't fertilized these guys yet. I'm going to in a minute, and then I'll take a picture. But see what happens. I have a feeling this is actually going to work out pretty good. Even though the perlite does hold moisture, there's so much air that's able to get down to the root system and that it should dry out quicker than it was having before. So if we take a look at the meter, right now the meter is reading 2, and that was just being watered. Let's pick a different one. Okay, let's get into the Titanopsis. I'm just trying to pick a spot that's not going to bother anything. Yeah, the meter's still around 2-ish. I didn't completely soak them, but we'll see what happens. Alright, I'll give you guys an update in a couple weeks on this and see how it goes.